Captain Vexthul stood on the bridge of his warship and looked out at the stars. His 4 arms hung at his sides, each ending in claws that could cut through metal. His body was covered in hard crystal plates that no weapon had ever broken. He was 8 feet tall and weighed as much as 3 smaller beings. The Voidrender was the biggest ship in the Zephyrian fleet. It had destroyed more worlds than any other vessel in the galaxy. Its weapons could turn planets into dust. Its shields could stop any attack. For 10,000 years, no enemy had ever damaged it. Vexthul was proud of his ship and his crew. They were the strongest beings in the known universe. Every species they met either surrendered immediately or was crushed. Within days, war was what they lived for. Pain meant nothing to them. Death in battle was an honor. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. Lieutenant Kexivor approached with a datapad in his lower right hand. His crystal armor clicked against the metal floor with each step. "Captain, we have received new signals from Sector 779, Kexivor said. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. Vexthul took the datapad and studied the information. The signals came from a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet was the 3rd one from its sun, in a system that had no strategic value. "What kind of signals?" Vexthul asked. "Mathematical patterns, sound waves they call music, and images of the dominant species," Kexivor replied. "They call themselves humans." Vexthul looked at the images on the screen. The humans were small creatures that walked on 2 legs. They had soft pink or brown skin with no natural armor. Their arms ended in 5-fingered hands with no claws. They had hair on their heads but nowhere else. They looked weak and fragile. "How tall are they?" Vexthul asked. "About 6 feet for the larger ones. Maybe 150 pounds in weight," Kexivor said. Vexthul laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge like rocks falling down a mountain. His officers joined in the laughter. These humans were half their size and probably 10 times weaker. "Do they have any weapons?" Vexthul asked. "Primitive ones. They shoot small metal projectiles from tubes. They have explosive devices." "Nothing that could harm our armor," Kexivor said. "What about their ships?" "They have only just learned to send signals faster than light. They have not built any real warships. A few small vessels that stay close to their home world." Vexthul studied more images of the humans. They lived in cities made of glass and metal. They grew food in organized fields. They seemed to work together in large groups, but they looked so soft and helpless. The Zephyrians had conquered 47 different species over the centuries. The plant people of Virtus Prime had been tall and strong, but they moved too slowly. The Zephyrians cut them down like grass. The energy beings of Plasma Prime could fly and shoot lightning, but they could not touch solid matter well. The Zephyrians built special weapons that scattered their energy forms. The rock giants of Titan's Edge had been the hardest fight. They stood 12 feet tall and were made of living stone. But even they fell when the Zephyrians learned to use sonic weapons that cracked their bodies apart. Every species had some special ability that made them dangerous. But they all had weaknesses that the Zephyrians found and used against them. Once the weakness was found, the war was over. "What makes these humans special?" Vexthul asked. Kexivor looked through more data. "They seem to learn quickly. They make tools and machines. They work together in large groups. But Captain, they have no natural weapons at all. No claws, no armor, no poison, no special powers. They are just soft creatures that will break easily." Vexthul walked to the large window that showed the stars ahead. Space was vast and mostly empty, but the Zephyrians had traveled to every corner of it looking for worthy enemies. They had found many strong species, but none that could match their power. "How many humans are there?" he asked. "About 8 billion on their homeworld. Maybe a few thousand on a small colony they just started on another planet in their system." 8 billion was a large number, but the Zephyrians had faced larger populations before. Numbers meant nothing if the individual fighters were weak. "Prepare the conquest fleet," Vexthul ordered. "We will take 50 ships. That should be more than enough for such weak creatures." "Yes, Captain, when do we leave?" "Immediately. I want to see what these humans do when they face real warriors." The bridge became busy as officers prepared for the journey. The void renders, engines powered up to full strength. 49 other Zephyrian warships received the order to follow their flagship. As the fleet moved toward the human system, Vexthul thought about the coming battle. It would probably be over in hours. The humans would see the Zephyrian ships and surrender immediately like most species did. If they tried to fight, their primitive weapons would bounce off Zephyrian armor like raindrops. He looked forward to adding human skulls to his collection. Each species he conquered gave him a trophy to remember them by. The humans would be easy to defeat, but their skull shape was interesting. It would look good next to the crystal formations from the shard, people and the metal plates from the iron walkers. The journey to the human system would take several days at maximum speed. Vexthul used the time to study everything the Zephyrians knew about humans. They were curious creatures that asked many questions about the universe. They made art and music and stories. They seemed to care about each other in ways that Zephyrians found strange. But caring about others was a weakness in war. A warrior who worried about protecting others could not fight at full strength. The humans would learn this lesson when the Zephyrians arrived. Vexthul had never lost a battle, neither had his father or his father's father. Victory was in their blood and bones. These soft little humans would be just another easy conquest in the long history of Zephyrian dominance. He could not imagine that anything in the universe could make him feel afraid. Fear was for weak creatures. Zephyrians knew only strength, victory, and the joy of battle. The stars ahead held no terrors for him. Soon he would show these humans what real power looked like. Jake Morrison stood in the control center of Haven Colony and watched the morning sun rise over the new world. The first human settlement outside their home system was only 6 months old, but it already felt like home. 3,000 colonists had come here to start fresh lives among the stars. The colony buildings were simple but strong. White metal walls and clear glass windows reflected the orange light of Haven's sun. Gardens grew between the structures where earth vegetables mixed with native plants. Children played in the streets while their parents worked to build a better future. Jake was 42 years old and had left behind a good job on Earth to lead this colony. He believed humans needed to spread among the stars to survive and grow. Haven was proof that his dream could work. "Jake, you need to see this right now," called Dr. Lisa Chang from her workstation. Her voice was tight with worry. Lisa was the colony's chief scientist. She studied space around Haven and listened for signals from other worlds. Her equipment was the most advanced the colony had, but it was still simple compared to what they had back on Earth. Jake walked over to Lisa's station. She pointed at her screen, which showed dozens of red dots moving toward their system. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. "Ships, 50 of them. They're big, Jake, really big. The largest one is almost 2 miles long." Jake felt his stomach drop. Humanity had never met aliens before, but they had always wondered if this day would come. "How long until they get here?" 6 hours, maybe less. They're moving faster than anything we've ever built." Jake looked around the control center. His staff were all staring at Lisa's screen now. Fear was starting to show on their faces. These people had come to Haven to build new lives, not to fight unknown enemies. "Send a message to Earth immediately. Tell them what's happening," Jake ordered. "Then call an emergency meeting of all department heads." Within an hour, every important person in the colony had gathered in the main meeting room. Lisa showed them what her sensors had found. The alien ships were huge and heavily armed. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had. "What do they want?" asked Dr. Kevin Walsh, the colony's chief medical officer. "We're about to find out," Lisa said. "They're trying to communicate with us now." The main screen lit up with an image that made everyone in the room go quiet. The alien was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and a body covered in crystal-like armor. Its face had no expression humans could read, but its voice was deep and threatening. "Small creatures of the third planet," the alien said. "I am Captain Vexthul of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your colony and your world immediately. Resistance will result in your complete destruction. You have 1 hour to comply." The MEI message ended and the screen went dark. Nobody spoke for several seconds. "Well," Jake said finally. That was direct. "Jake, we can't fight them. said colony engineer Carlos Martinez. "Look at those ships. They could destroy us from orbit without even landing." "Maybe we should surrender," suggested Teacher Mary Sullivan. "If we give them what they want, maybe they'll let us live." Jake looked around the table at his people. They were scared, and they had every right to be. But something inside him refused to accept defeat without trying to fight. "Lisa, can you send a reply?" he asked. "Yes, but Jake, what are you thinking?" Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, children were still playing in the colony streets. Parents worked in the gardens. People were living their lives not knowing that death might come from the sky at any moment. "Send this message," Jake said. "We decline your generous offer. Haven is our home now." The room exploded with shocked voices. Everyone talked at once, asking Jake if he was crazy. Lisa stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Jake, they'll kill us all," Carlos said. "Maybe," Jake replied. "But I won't hand over our home without a fight. We came here to build something new. If we surrender at the first sign of trouble, what kind of future are we building for our children?" Lisa sent the message with shaking hands. The reply came back within minutes. Captain Vexthul appeared on screen again, and this time he looked confused. "You refuse our terms. No species has ever refused Zephyrian demands. You will reconsider, or we will demonstrate our power." The screen went dark again. 20 minutes later, Lisa's sensors detected a single shot fired from the alien fleet. One of Haven's orbital supply stations exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the colony's surface. "They just destroyed Station 3, Lisa said quietly. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The aliens had killed 6 people on that station just to make a point. They thought humans would break and surrender after seeing their power. "Get me Captain Alex Rodriguez," Jake ordered. Alex Rodriguez was a former Earth military officer who had come to Haven to start a peaceful life as a farmer. But Jake knew the colony would need his experience now. "Alex, I need you to organize our defenses. Use whatever we have." "Jake, we're not soldiers here. We're colonists," Alex said. "We're humans," Jake replied. "And humans don't surrender their homes to bullies." Alex nodded slowly. "All right. Give me 2 hours to see what we can put together." As Alex left to prepare the colony's defenses, Jake looked out at Haven's landscape again. The aliens expected humans to behave like every other species they had conquered. They expected fear and quick surrender. They were about to learn that humans were different. When threatened, humans didn't break. They got angry. And angry humans were dangerous, even when they were outnumbered and outgunned. The Zephyrians had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years by being the strongest, but they had never met a species that grew stronger when backed into a corner. Jake picked up the communications device and sent one more message to Captain Vexthul. "You want our home? Come and take it." Captain Vexthul watched his troops land on the human world with growing confusion. 3 months had passed since the siege began, and nothing was going as planned. The small human colony should have fallen in days, not weeks. Yet here they were, still fighting. The first Zephyrian landing had been a disaster. Captain Alex Rodriguez met the drop pods with traps that no warrior race had ever used before. The humans had dug holes in the ground and covered them with thin metal sheets. When Zephyrian warriors stepped on them, they fell into pits filled with sharp metal spikes. "Who fights like this?" Lieutenant Kexivor asked as he watched another squad fall into a hidden trap. "Cowards," Vexthul replied, but his voice lacked confidence. These humans were not acting like cowards. They were acting like something the Zephyrians had never encountered before. In the colony's main workshop, engineer Carlos Martinez worked day and night to build weapons from farming equipment. He took machines meant to plant seeds and turned them into devices that shot metal bolts. He used mining explosives to create bombs that could destroy Zephyrian armor. "We need more sonic disruptors," Carlos told his team of volunteers. The aliens. Armor cracks when we hit it with the right sound frequency. Dr. Lisa Chang had discovered this weakness by studying pieces of broken Zephyrian armor. She found that their crystal plates would shatter if hit with sound waves at exactly the right pitch. Within days, Carlos had built dozens of weapons that used this discovery. The Zephyrians had never faced enemies who learned so quickly. Every tactic they used was studied, understood, and countered within hours. Every weapon they brought was captured, taken apart, and improved by human engineers. But what truly disturbed Vexthal was how the humans fought at night. Lieutenant Amy Foster led small groups of colonists on raids that seemed to come from nowhere. The humans moved through darkness like ghosts, striking at Zephyrian supply lines and communication equipment before disappearing. "They see in the dark better than we do," reported Sergeant Zexcon after his third failed attempt to catch the human raiders. "Impossible," Vexthal said. "Our night vision is superior to any species we know, but the humans weren't using their eyes alone. They had learned to move by sound and touch. They used the wind to hide their scent. They stepped only on soft ground to avoid making noise. They turned their weakness into strength through pure cleverness." Amy Foster crouched behind a fallen tree and watched Zephyrian guards patrol their camp. She had been a school teacher before the war started, but now she was one of Haven's most effective fighters. Her team of 12 colonists had destroyed more enemy equipment than entire Zephyrian squadrons. "Remember, we hit the power generator first, then the communications array," she whispered to her team. "We have exactly 4 minutes before their reinforcements arrive." The raid went perfectly. The humans slipped into the camp, planted their explosives, and vanished before the Zephyrians knew what happened. When the bombs went off, they took out both targets and left the alien camp in darkness. Vexthal received the report with something he had never felt before: doubt. His warriors were beginning to hesitate before entering human territory. Some even showed signs of what other species called fear. "Captain, we should retreat and request more ships," suggested Kexivore. "Retreat? From these soft creatures?" Vexthal roared, but his anger was mixed with uncertainty. The breaking point came when Dr. Kevin Walsh was captured during a rescue mission. He had been trying to save wounded colonists from a collapsed building when Zephyrian soldiers surrounded him. They brought him to Vexthal for questioning. "Tell us about your military forces," Vexthal demanded. Kevin laughed through his broken teeth. Blood ran down his face, but his eyes were bright with something that chilled the Zephyrian captain. "Military forces? You think this is our military? You have hidden soldiers. Where are they?" "Captain, you still don't understand," Kevin said. "I'm a doctor. Carlos is an engineer. Amy was a teacher. Jake ran a business. We're not soldiers at all." Vexthal felt ice in his blood. "Then who are we fighting?" "Farmers, scientists, teachers, mechanics, cooks, gardeners. Just regular people who don't want to lose their homes." "Impossible. No civilian population could fight like this." Kevin's smile was terrible to see. "You've been fighting our civilians for 3 months and losing. Now imagine what happens when our actual soldiers arrive." "What do you mean?" "Earth got our distress signal 6 months ago. The real military is already on the way. You want to see what human soldiers can do? Wait 2 more weeks." Vexthal felt something crack inside his mind. For 10,000 years, the Zephyrians had conquered through superior strength and weapons. They faced the military forces of other species and crushed them. But these humans had been fighting with ordinary people who had never been trained for war. "How many soldiers is Earth sending?" he asked quietly. "The entire Fifth Fleet, 300 ships, 50,000 Marines. And Captain, they're not coming to negotiate." That night, Vexthal stood alone on his ship's bridge and stared down at the human colony. Lights still burned in the windows. People still moved through the streets. After 3 months of constant battle, the humans were still there. His own forces were exhausted and demoralized. Warriors who had never known defeat were now afraid to leave their ships. The humans had done something no enemy had ever accomplished. They had made Zephyrians feel vulnerable. "Sir, we have new signals from the edge of the system," reported his communications officer. Vexthal looked at the data and felt his blood turn cold. The human fleet was arriving early. Hundreds of ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. These were not colony vessels or cargo ships. These were warships built specifically for battle. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. 18 hours, Captain." Vexthal realized that everything was about to change. The Zephyrians had spent 3 months learning to fear human civilians. Soon they would discover what human soldiers could do. For the first time in his life, Captain Vexathul of the Zephyrian Empire wished he had never heard of a species called humanity. Admiral Susan Blake stood on the bridge of her flagship and studied the tactical display. The Earth Defense Fleet had arrived at Haven System with 300 warships, ready for the biggest battle in human history. But what she saw surprised her. The Zephyrian fleet was not positioned for attack. Instead, their ships were scattered around the system in defensive formations. They looked confused and uncertain, not like the confident conquerors she had expected to face. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Haven Colony," reported Communications Officer Tony Garcia. "Put it through." Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but unbroken. Behind him, Admiral Blake could see the colony was damaged, but still standing. "Admiral Blake, it's good to see you," Jake said with a smile. "Jake, what's your status down there?" "We're holding, but just barely. These aliens are tough, but we've learned a few things about them." "What kind of things?" "They've never faced an enemy that adapts as fast as we do. Every weapon they use, we figure out how to counter. Every tactic they try, we turn against them." Admiral Blake nodded. "We're here now. Stand ready for our attack." The Earth Defense Fleet moved into battle formation. Captain Tony Garcia commanded, the destroyer Relentless, leading the first wave of ships toward the Zephyrian fleet. He had studied every report from Haven Colony and knew exactly what they were facing. "All ships, this is Garcia. Remember what we learned from the colonists. These aliens are strong, but they don't adapt well to new situations. Hit them fast and keep changing tactics." The human fleet attacked with coordination that amazed the Zephyrians. Every ship moved as part of a larger plan, responding to threats, with perfect timing. When Zephyrian vessels tried to concentrate their fire, human ships scattered and regrouped in seconds. Captain Vexathul watched the battle from his flagship and felt something he had never experienced before: complete helplessness. The human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They pulled maneuvers that should have killed their crews from the acceleration. "How are they surviving those turns?" asked Lieutenant Kexivor. "I don't know," Vexthul replied quietly. What the Zephyrians didn't understand was that humans had spent the 6 months since first contact developing new technology. Earth's best scientists had worked day and night to create better ships, stronger weapons, and advanced systems that could protect crews during extreme maneuvers. Commander Patricia Hill led a boarding party onto a damaged Zephyrian cruiser. Her team moved through the alien ship in full spacesuits, something no other species had ever attempted. The Zephyrians had never faced enemies who could fight in the cold vacuum of space with only mechanical protection. "Secure the engine room," Patricia ordered her Marines. "I want their power systems intact for study." The human boarding parties were like nothing the Zephyrians had ever seen. They didn't just capture ships, they learned how the ships worked, while fighting through them. Human engineers followed right behind the Marines, studying alien technology and finding ways to use it against the fleet. Within hours, human ships were firing Zephyrian weapons that had been captured and modified. The aliens watched in horror as their own technology was turned against them, often improved beyond what they had originally built. But the moment that broke Zephyrian resistance came, when Admiral Blake opened a direct communication channel to Captain Vexathul. "Captain, I am Admiral Susan Blake of the Earth Defense Fleet," she said calmly. Vexathul appeared on her screen, his crystal armor cracked and his forearms hanging in defeat. "What do you want, human?" "I want to offer you terms." The bridge of Vexathul's ship went completely silent. In 10,000 years of conquest, no enemy had ever offered the Zephyrians terms. They were always the ones making demands. "What terms?" Vexathul asked carefully. "Surrender now and your people live. Withdraw from human space and we will not pursue you. Your empire can continue to exist, but you will never threaten humanity again." Vexathul stared at the human admiral. "You would let us live?" "Captain, humans don't fight to destroy. We fight to protect what we love. Surrender and this war ends." Lieutenant Kexvor leaned close to his captain. "Sir, this must be a trick. No species offers mercy to defeated enemies." But Vexthal had spent months studying these strange creatures called humans. He had seen them fight with desperate courage to protect their colony. He had watched them adapt and learn at impossible speed. He had witnessed them turn certain defeat into victory through pure determination. Now they were offering something that no warrior race had ever given, the chance to surrender with honor. "Why?" Vexthal asked. "Why would you spare us?" Admiral Blake's expression was serious but not cruel. "Because destroying you would make us like you used to be. We choose to be better." The Zephyrian captain looked around his damaged bridge. His officers were staring at him, waiting for his decision. His fleet was broken and scattered. His warriors were demoralized and afraid. But more than that, he realized these humans were offering him something more valuable than victory, the chance to learn from defeat. Vexthal began, then stopped. The words were the hardest he had ever spoken. "I surrender." The surrender signal went out to the entire Zephyrian fleet. One by one, alien warships powered down their weapons and shields. The greatest military force in the galaxy had been defeated, not just by human weapons, but by human mercy. Admiral Blake watched the alien ships surrender and felt no joy in victory. She had seen too much death and destruction to celebrate. But she felt hope for the future. "All ships stand down from battle stations," she ordered. "Prepare medical teams to assist Zephyrian wounded. We have work to do." The war was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. Humans had proven they could fight. Now they had to prove they could build peace. 1 year after the surrender, Ambassador Robert Chen walked through the rebuilt streets of Haven Colony. The buildings were stronger now, made with both human and Zephyrian technology. Gardens bloomed where battlefields had once been. Children played games that mixed Earth traditions with alien customs they had learned from their former enemies. Robert had been a soldier during the war, but now he was a diplomat. His job was to help humans and Zephyrians learn to live together, in peace. It was harder work than fighting had been, but more important. "Ambassador Chen, the Zephyrian delegation has arrived," his assistant told him. Robert nodded and walked to the meeting hall. Captain Vexthal was waiting there with 3 of his officers. The former enemy looked different now. His crystal armor was polished but showed no weapons. His forearms were relaxed at his sides. Most surprising of all, his eyes showed something Robert had never seen in a Zephyrian before: curiosity. "Captain Vexthal, welcome to Haven," Robert said. "Thank you, Ambassador. Your colony has changed much since I last saw it. War tends to change things, but we've tried to make those changes positive ones." They sat at a table made from both earthwood and Zephyrian crystal. The combination was beautiful and strong, a symbol of what the two species could build together. "I have reports from the Interspecies Research Council," Robert said, handing over a datapad. "Dr. Nancy Rodriguez wants to share her findings with your scientists." Vexthal studied the information. Dr. Rodriguez had been studying human and Zephyrian biology, trying to understand what made the two species so different. Her discoveries were changing how both races saw themselves. She says humans are evolution's answer to apex predators. Vexthal read aloud. "What does this mean?" "It means while other species developed strength or speed or armor, humans developed something more dangerous, the ability to learn, adapt, and work together." Vexthal was quiet for a long moment. "We always believed strength was everything. Physical power, superior weapons, the ability to dominate others. And where did that lead you? To 10,000 years of conquest, but also 10,000 years of loneliness. We had no friends, only subjects and enemies." Robert leaned forward. "What do you have now?" For the first time since Robert had known him, Vexthal smiled. It was a strange expression on his alien face, but unmistakably genuine. "Now we have teachers." The transformation of Zephyrian society had been remarkable to watch. Within months of the surrender, human engineers were helping to rebuild damaged Zephyrian worlds. Human doctors studied alien physiology to develop better medical treatments. Human teachers learned Zephyrian history to help both species understand each other. But the most important change was in how the Zephyrians saw themselves. For the first time in their history, they had met a species that was stronger than them, not through physical power, but through something more profound. Dr. Kevin Walsh, who had been captured during the siege, now worked closely with Zephyrian medical teams. He had learned that their crystal armor wasn't just protection, it was part of their body, like human bones. Understanding this had led to breakthroughs in treating both species. The interesting thing, Kevin explained to a mixed group of human and Zephyrian doctors, is that both our species heal faster when we work together. Humans recover from injuries more quickly when Zephyrian crystal technology is used in their treatment. Zephyrians heal better when human medical techniques are applied to their care. Engineer Carlos Martinez had made similar discoveries. Human and Zephyrian technology worked better when combined than when used separately. Ships built with both human creativity and Zephyrian strength were superior to anything either species had built alone. It's like we were meant to meet, Carlos told his mixed engineering team. Our weaknesses cover their weaknesses. Their strengths add to our strengths. But perhaps the most important work was being done by teacher Mary Sullivan. She had started a school where human and Zephyrian children learned together. The young ones adapted to each other much faster than the adults had. "Watch this," Mary told Robert during one of his visits to the school. A group of human children were playing with young Zephyrians. The aliens were teaching the humans how to use their superior strength carefully, while the humans showed the Zephyrians how to solve problems through cooperation instead of force. They don't see each other as different species, Mary explained. They just see friends. Robert smiled as he watched a human girl help a young Zephyrian with a math problem, while the alien child showed her how to build stronger structures with crystal technology. The real test of the new peace came when other alien species heard about the Zephyrian surrender. The Verdani plant people, the energy beings of Plasma Prime, and the rock giants of Titan's Edge all sent messages asking the same question. How had the humans defeated the undefeatable Zephyrians? Admiral Susan Blake met with representatives from 12 different species in the first Interspecies Peace Conference. Each delegation expected to hear about new weapons or superior technology. Instead, she told them about mercy. "We didn't defeat the Zephyrians through better weapons," Susan explained. "We defeated them by offering them something they had never experienced before. The choice to surrender with honor, instead of fighting to the death." The alien representatives were confused. Most of their species believed that showing mercy was a sign of weakness. "How does mercy make you stronger?" asked the Verdani delegate. "Because mercy creates allies instead of enemies," Susan replied. "Fear only lasts as long as you're the strongest, but friendship lasts forever." Captain Vexthul, who was attending as the Zephyrian representative, stood up to address the conference. "For 10,000 years my people ruled through fear," he said. "We were the apex predators of the galaxy. We thought this made us powerful." He paused and looked around the room at representatives from species his people had once conquered. "We were wrong. Humans showed us that true power comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the choice not to destroy. They could have wiped us out completely. Instead, they chose to help us become better." The conference led to the formation of the Galactic Cooperation Council, with humans serving as mediators between species that had been enemies for centuries. The galaxy was changing from a place of endless conflict to one of growing cooperation. Robert Chen finished his daily report and looked out at the stars above Haven Colony. Ships from dozens of worlds now traveled peacefully through space that had once been a battlefield. Trade routes connected former enemies. Scientific discoveries were shared freely between species. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as conquerors, but as gardeners. They helped other species grow and flourish instead of simply dominating them. And in doing so, they had created something beautiful. A galaxy where strength was measured not by the fear you could inspire, but by the hope you could create. The universe had learned that the most dangerous species of all was one that chose to be gentle,